I doubt this will ever reach Mark Hamill, nor do I think he would care what I had to say even if this did, knowing who he truly is as a person really within the last few years. I have heard people quote, "You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain" in sentiment to Mark Hamill. Sadly, this seems to be the most accurate description of what he has become in the eyes of his former fans. For those who don't know, and I implore you to do your own research and decide for yourself, Hamill is a raging liberal who hates Trump, conservatives, and MAGA alike. He thinks they are awful and terrible people, so much so that instead of remembering Carrie Fisher with a beautiful memory, he recalled a so-called last conversation where they argued over who hated Trump more. In essence, he used a moment of remembrance for his friend's life and death to spew more hate. And I would just like to say, despite our political differences, and fuck Disney for ruining her beloved character, rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. As for Mark, you are just a disappointment. So many of us stood with you after Disney butchered Luke's character, and we all felt for you, only for you to turn your back on half your fan base because they used their birthright to vote differently.
It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them!
I'm sure, like many of us, I cannot recall a time when I did not know what Star Wars was. If I had to take a guess, I had seen Star Wars a multitude of times before I could even understand the world around me, or could even store a memory. Despite growing up on the prequels, The Empire Strikes Back has been, and still is, by far my favorite Star Wars production, if not my favorite production of all time, with Return of the Jedi and A New Hope following closely behind, much of which had to do with Luke Skywalker, an eager for adventure farm boy, to a hero who never gave up and put his friends before himself. From not believing in the Force to believing he could and would alleviate his father's sorrow and loneliness. No matter how many times I watched the original trilogy, I always felt like there was no other character like Luke. None were as heroic, stoic, and selfless as he was. And I grew up on so many great characters. Sora from Kingdom Hearts, second game is still my favorite of all time. Kratos, Master Chief, Link anyone, specifically Wind Waker, Samurai Jack, Spider-Man, come on, TMNT, the original movies, come on, The Crow, Jack Sparrow, Dart from the Legend of Dragoon, just me, I was a kid, Spyro, Goku and Vegeta, Ichigo from Bleach, Jiraiya, sorry Naruto, Inuyasha, Neo, Lestat from Queen of the Damned, Ezio Auditore de Firenze. I was 12 when that came out. Still counts. And there are probably so many more I cannot recall at the moment from various movies, cartoons, and shows that filled my childhood. Yet, Luke was above all of them. None in my mind of minds was a better all-round character than Luke Skywalker.
I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father.
It wasn't until my teenage years that I looked into who Mark Hamill was, only to find out he voiced many characters of my childhood, of many of our childhoods. I came to respect and appreciate the man who played my favorite character, digging into old interview clips, watching voice comparisons of different Jokers, where, in my opinion, he crushed every other in tone, delivery, and laugh. He even went on to voice a character in my other favorite franchise, Master Ericus from Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. His list of performances is quite extensive, and there are several characters I am familiar with, like Firelord Ozai from The Last Airbender and Skips from Regular Show. But there are likely many others I have seen on screen and are not aware that he voiced. Just the idea that he played so many parts in a plethora of productions I was familiar with was just mind-blowing for me to discover at the time. Not only was I a fan of Luke, but now Mark Hamill as well. My siblings and I were taught to never be starstruck and to view celebrities as people who had really good jobs, that they were no different than us. As my dad would say, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. And though I truly believe this to this very day, I was always sure that if I ever got the chance to meet Mark Hamill, I most likely would falter on these teachings. Not to say I would go full paparazzi, they can go rot in a sarlacc pit, but it would be the closest I would ever get to actual starstruck. At least, that's how I felt at that time.
I have a very bad
feeling about this?
With the release of the sequel trilogy, editor assassin here, for those lacking in Star Wars, my sister, that's the trilogy with Ray Skywalker, that takes place 30 years after the downfall of the Galactic Empire and the death of Vader and Sidious. For those of us that know, unfortunately know, I, like many others, felt betrayed by the portrayal of Luke Skywalker, as did Mark Hamill. Luke was so far removed from his original character that many felt it was not Luke at all. I know this because I felt the same. And I am sure many of us saw the interviews and shows where Hamill spoke ill of Disney. He, too, felt betrayed by his own character, and many of us banded together with him. I assume we all felt appreciated as fans to know Mark agreed with the fans over the studio. Another layer of respect to add for this man that I held. But, like in Force Awakens, where he is ready to cut down his nephew in his sleep, that was no mischaracterization, but a real-life reflection of who Mark is.
The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force.
I hate this idea that being a liberal celebrity somehow means you can say whatever you want and can expect the same overall support. I'm sure many will say Mark couldn't care less if he lost half his fan base because one less Trump supporting fan is a win in his perspective, or something like that. And I agree. However, if I could get any point across to him in a world where he was willing to consider, I would let him know that many of us are not conservative for the reason he thinks we are, but many of our experiences formulated our beliefs, whether we're religious or not. I'm not conservative because my parents said I had to be, and I wasn't raised religious, and I'm still not. I just happen to find a set of beliefs I agree with, and they happen to be conservative in nature. More importantly, before being a conservative, I was a child who adored Luke Skywalker. I had no political party, no political opinions. I was in my own little world where Star Wars was the coolest thing to exist, and Luke was the greatest hero in a galaxy far, far away. I now wish Mark would realize that many of those Trump supporters he hates so much were just like me, an innocent child who grew up knowing Luke and admiring him, wanting to be him. He was a hero for all of us. And now it's those same kids he condemns, slanders, and hates.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
It truly is sad to see such an amazing actor become overrated, underhated, and a sold-out, washed-up has-been. I cannot say for everyone, but for me, I just don't care for whatever he's in. I wouldn't crack a smile even if I caught a glimpse of him in person, nor would I want to shake his hand or acknowledge him even if I met him. Though Luke is still one of my favorite characters, watching the original trilogy just isn't as exciting as it used to be, knowing who Mark Hamill is now. Mark has been such a letdown for me that even Luke is no longer a character I hold above all, but rather in line with other characters like Joel from The Last of Us, just the first game, or another personal favorite, Gohan from Dragon Ball. In recent years, I would even rank Guts from Berserk to be a far better character than Luke and to have a significantly better story. Even though the new God of War games are not top tier for me, the dynamic between Kratos and Atreus in the God of War 4 feels better written than Vader and Luke. Granted, I can relate to it more closely. I am sure someone will add it's because I've gotten older and you can only watch 3 movies so many times before you get sick of them. But I can assure you it's not. I can recall the moment I saw Hamill getting political. I just didn't feel the same about Star Wars or Luke after that. I still hold them in high regard, Luke in Star Wars, not Hamill. It's just stained by his hands and his hands alone.
I'll never turn to the dark side.
When Mark passes, hopefully, of old age, I will still be mourning the passing of James Earl Jones as the voice of Darth Vader. I still won't like Disney's greed over his voice, ironically, something they'll never do with Mark, Side note, I didn't know at the time, but James was in a game called Command and Conquer, another franchise I liked that was also destroyed by greed. Many years later, when replaying said game, I recognized Mr. Jones and I thought that was just so cool, and I still think it is cool. Anyways, I wish you the best of luck, Mark Hamill. You truly can go fuck yourself. And not because you're a Democrat or have the woke mind virus. No, because you betrayed many of us fans who adored you, stood by you, and supported you. You dehumanize us with your leftist rhetoric and insult our intelligence, yet all you can do, all that you have, is playground insults with zero basis, thrown out blindly and thoughtlessly. I wish you no ill will, but I can promise you I will not be moved by your passing. You will end up as another headline 20, 30, or 40 years from now, like every other celebrity. I suppose you can find comfort in knowing you'll at least have a headline for your passing. From yours truly, a Luke Skywalker fan.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.